Yo, what's up guys, Teacher Paul here, and today we have a quite long video. This was a coffee request by one of our viewers called Hinoik, and this is a documentary which is available on the link that is in the description with English subtitles. And this documentary goes even deeper into the US system versus the Halden prison, which you reacted to earlier. So that's the comment from the coffee request that I'm reading. The documentary should be accessible from outside the EU as well. Yeah, so this is available for you to watch for free. Link is in the description if you want to watch it without my commentary. But yeah, let's go straight into it. Prepare your coffee, your tea, your fika, you know, and let's go straight into the video. Let me just pull up the subtitles so I can understand, and we'll go into the reaction. Let's go. And I hope I don't get copyrighted. If I do, please contact me before removing the video.
Currently, I'm in prison right now for murder in the second degree.
Second-degree murder.
Grov vold. Narkotikadommer.
There are Americans in this prison as well. Halden prison, Norway. The name of the show is Breaking the Cycle.
Welcome to Halden Maximum Security Prison. What I'm going to talk about today applies also for the Norwegian Correctional Service as a whole, as well as there are some Nordic values that are also in common here. We are protecting the society, but at the same time, we are going to try to make change among the inmates. Change for a better future.
For a better future, not only for the inmates, but the whole country.
God morgen.
$260 inmates.
Her I Norge så går vi ut fra tanken om at vi her som straff, ikke for å straffes. Så vi har fått straff over retten, og da må vi være her i fengselet en periode. Og vi skal jo ikke straffes noe mer her inne. Så det elementet av hevn da, det tatt vekk. Det står jo ganske sterkt ellers i hvert fall i USA. Allepus!
See, no, it's not about revenge. The government shouldn't take revenge on people, you know. 2000
is a very rough place, very cold, and I'm not just speaking about, you know, the walls. I'm talking about just, you know, the vibe, the energy that you get from everyone. You pretty much have to be a strong individual to survive here.
This is in America, right? We're seeing both countries, America versus Norway.
Over here, I have my papers and my folders, a couple legal papers. Here I have some more hooks where clothes go into. And like I said, utilizing every space. Just bought these bananas at commissary yesterday. So this is really the only place where I can put them where they won't squish and go bad on me. Over in this area over here.
You should hang bananas
we have the bathroom,
though.
Of course. You know, everything is like all within one hookup. Then under the bed, you want to utilize the space under the bed. I got a bin here where I keep food that I purchased at commissary. Some
Wraps.
Tortilla
wraps.
Peanut butter.
Honestly, this looks better than
was not allowed anymore. They just banned
than
these.
some of the worst
So
prisons
now
I've
we're allowed
seen.
pouches. I just purchased these yesterday.
That's not bad for like comparing to other prisons that I've seen.
Her ser jeg litt sko og vannkoker. Her da klær. Kjøleskap.
But it's nothing compared to Halden.
Så har vi da jakker. Her har vi da et lite bad. Knøtt lite.
Wow.
Vi har jo
This is something I like, the
mange prinsipper, men jeg synes de
cleanliness.
to mest sentrale, det dette med normalitet. At fengselet skal ligne så mye som mulig på samfunnet på utsiden. Men også dette med at vi skal behandle de innsatte på en human måte.
I agree. Humane. I don't agree with physical punishment. I've said that before. I think that only makes people more dangerous
noe som
and more violent.
Samfunnsnyttig, som betyr noe for samfunnet, og det å kunne jobbe med mennesker og menneskelig endring, at de skal kunne leve et normalt liv etterpå, som til gavn både for den innsatte og for samfunnet, det motiverer meg. Og samme også da med å forsøke å eksportere noen av de ideene som virker da i Norden til et annet land, for jeg har tro på at grunnelementene her vil også virke i andre land. Det det som på en måte jeg synes spennende. Hvis dette kan forandre livet til om så bare én innsatt i USA, så det på en måte verdt å ta den reisen, altså.
You know, it's very important for us to learn from the best countries in the world.
Please sign in.
Okay.
Yep, everything good is here.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, you can go ahead and walk through.
Det har en forhåpning først, og det kanskje at høysikkerhetsfengsler i USA noe mer enn det man kan se på TV. Det en forhåpning, men jeg forventer det kanskje ikke. Jeg forventer nok å se et system som basert, i hvert fall hvor dette tanken om hevn og gjengjeldelse et sentralt element. Det jo fraværende i Norden.
Yo, violence only generates more violence, you know.
ATTICA.
Thank you very much.
Jim Conway.
I remember Jim.
Again.
Good to see you again. It's been a couple of years now, but yeah.
They reunited. Let's see if he changed.
This is the recreation yards for A block, which is behind us, B block, which is straight ahead, C block to the left, D block to the right. The individuals that are housed in the blocks will all come down the corridor and go to the right. So A block's behind us, they come down the corridor, go to the right into the yard. And later on this afternoon or this evening, we'll be able to come back out here and we'll see the inmates participating in one of our recreation periods. There's about 480 inmates in A block, B block, and C block. In D block, there's around 400, a little less. Honor block is in D block, and they've taken 3 cells and made them into 2, so the count's a little bit less.
Okay. You can see it's much bigger.
All the yards are covered
much
by
more people
one
too.
Individual yard tower. The officers are armed with an AR-15 and chemical agents.
Okay.
So we haven't deployed deadly physical force in the yards, which would be the AR-15, in quite some time. Chemical agents a couple times a year. We've been very fortunate. I don't believe once this year yet, or once maybe.
So from a security point of view, where do you feel that, in a way, you're taking care of the security? The guys who are together with the inmates and feel the tension and having the dialogue, or the guys out in the tower? Now, where do you have the security element in a way?
It's a combination of both. They have intercoms from the yard platform to the tower, and our staff here are extremely observant of habit. And I've come to know that before something happens in the yard, more often than not, our staff know it's going to happen, and they see it happening. So it's a combination of both the foot soldiers on the ground, so to speak, and the eyes in the sky.
You can predict things. You can see when there's like a lot of movement. You can predict, but I wouldn't take any action before.
We're good.
Based on a prediction. Didn't he say one at a time?
En fengselsbetjents oppgave fortsatt man kommer ikke utenom at man skal ivareta sikkerheten. Sikkerheten for den ansatte, sikkerheten for seg selv og for sine kolleger. Det, på en måte, det ligger i bunnen uansett om vi snakker om Finland, Norge, Sverige, USA. Det på en måte fundamentet i jobben.
At the end of the day, prison is a dangerous place.
Men det kan ikke stoppe der. Du må på en måte ha med deg, du må på en måte være til stede som et menneske også, rett og slett.
Ja. But the US has a history of police brutality, so it's hard for that to change, you know. I'm not saying it can't, but it should change.
Dette konseptet med dynamisk sikkerhet, som veldig sentralt i Norden, nemlig en respektfull og god dialog med den innsatte, som legger grunnlaget både for å tenke framtidsplaner, for å tenke endring, for å skape tillit som basisverdier, for å gjøre endringer også i de innsattes liv.
Yeah. See, I like this documentary. It's giving a lot more detail than the short videos. I wish I watched this video before seeing the other short videos, which was all out of context.
Den dynamiske sikkerheten
Now I understand the whole mentality. Now I understand much better.
Kommunikasjon, bruke gode samtaleteknikker og ha en samtale egentlig som basert på respekt. Hvis du i stand til å se den innsatte ikke som en kriminell, men som et menneske som har gjort noe kriminelt, hvis du ser den forskjellen der, så har du et godt grunnlag for å ha en respektfull dialog. Har du det, så du på en måte inne på hovedsporet når det gjelder dynamisk sikkerhet.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't ask why.
So everything is about security here. And the most I feel safe is in my cell when it's closed. There's a lot of people here that have actual like mental problems and stuff like that. That's probably not getting the adequate attention. And you know, you kind of think like you don't know if one of these guys are going to blow up or something like that.
They should be in a...
And they're just moving around. But I've been here for 10 years, so I'm kind of like balanced.
You might just got here in the facility. You don't really know anybody. So I might try to be your friend just to see what I can get out of you, see what type of person you are, see what you're in prison for, see if you have any family support. And then once I find out that you don't really have any allies or, you know, but you have family support, people do take advantage of you. You know, they will, you know, ask you for a candy bar. And then from there, it goes to, let me wear a pair of your sneakers, you know, and then you don't get them back. And then once you don't, you know, do anything but from that, then it's just open season. Guys are taking your commissary, they might take your TV, you know, so it's
a dog-eat-dog world out there.
You know how like the lions prey on the weak, and that's pretty much how it is. Because people, again, they're just barely surviving in there. It's a tough place.
But that's survival instinct, I would say. I think that's a problem with the mentality, not the prison system. But at the same time, you shouldn't have mental patients in prison. They should be in a mental institution, right? Or if they need to be in a place where they can get treated for their mental health. Or if they're addicted to something, to a substance.
Yeah, and this is the facility's gymnasium. It's the only basic recreation area inside for the inmate population.
What about staff interaction with the inmates? Because in the Nordic countries, the interaction between staff and inmates is a vital point. So, okay, when you are 9 persons and you lack the last one, do the staff actually participate in the basketball game or whatever?
No, they wouldn't be participating with them, so to speak, when we're running the rec. What they would be doing is refereeing the games, out here on the floor, supervising the referees who would be other inmates.
But imagine if I was a correction officer and you were an inmate, and we're playing basketball, and sometimes in the game of basketball it can get heated, it can get it can get physical. And I go up and my elbow catches you nice.
Oh,
Now I got an
wow.
officer and an inmate conflict. We don't want that to happen. It's going to be a very tenuous situation if that were to happen, or vice versa. If the inmate went up and gave him a shot, we stay away from that.
Okay. Yeah, we think a little bit differently, obviously.
Absolutely.
Then. So, and to a certain extent, it's correct what Jim says, because the very few accidents that we've had among staff has been on the football field, for instance. So yes, it can happen as a part of the game then, not because there is any conflict really, but as a normal part of the game. So
accidents happen.
Yeah, it does.
Accidents happen.
Yeah, okay. But there's one thing that I've noticed is that the Americans don't accept the mentality of the Norwegians, and the Norwegians don't accept the mentalities of the Americans. Whatever is mentioned here, they kind of like give their own version of it. The Americans are saying that this could be a problem because they know how the American mentality is, right? Even if it was an accident, by the time you explain it, people are proud. People have their pride and their ego affected, which is something that maybe in Norway you don't have a lot. Because Norwegians, I think you guys are very direct and very very straightforward, right? And Americans are a little bit more emotional, and it's a little bit more difficult for you to understand the emotions and the sensitivity of Americans. So I understand what the Americans are saying, and I understand what the Norwegians are saying, but it feels like there is pushback from both sides. Like it feels like the Norwegian officer doesn't really take it seriously. He said, I don't agree. I think it's part of the game. I know, I agree with that. I know it's part of the game, but there's some sensitivities in different cultures. I've seen this so many times where a European says something very directly to a Western, like an American or somebody from Brazil, and they take offense. And the European is like, I don't understand. Why did you take offense? I'm just being very honest and very straightforward and very direct. And the American or the Brazilian is like, no, you're being rude. And there's this conflict. So imagine if there's this conflict with culture. Imagine how it is with a correction officer hitting an elbow against an inmate. The inmate will be, that was personal. You did it on purpose. I understand both sides because I have seen the interaction between both different cultures. And I hope that by the end of this, the Americans will be able to understand the Norwegian, and the Norwegian will be able to understand the American, and agree to disagree, and agree that these are two different cultures, two different societies, two different mentalities, and it's hard for you to put yourself in each other's shoes. I'm not saying any of the two are wrong. I'm just saying they need to be a little bit more understanding of each other. Because the last video that I saw, the American, he didn't really fully accept, or he was still skeptical of the Norwegian way. And in this one, I can see that the Norwegian is a little bit skeptical of the American way. So I think they need to reach a common ground here.
Okay, so you will stay on the policy that you have now,
Oh,
probably?
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Adversary coming in. Adversary coming up.
Likeverdet mellom mennesker. Jeg ser ikke den i praksis. Vi så noen konkrete eksempler også når de innsatte kom tilbake til avdeling, hvordan de ansatte da stilte seg opp i en slags formasjon, hvor batongen var trukket ut og klargjort, kroppsholdning.
Intimidation tactic, right?
Ja, det var indikasjoner som for meg ikke tyder på likeverd, respekt, god dialog mellom innsatte og ansatte.
That shows there is a separation. It's not,
For the
they're
inmates
not
here,
equals.
I think A lot of people are dealing with a lot of issues, you know, so those issues aren't being addressed, so a lot of people are still angry for what led them to come to prison. They might be angry at what's going on, the condition that they're living in. Finances is a big thing, you know, people aren't eating, you know, so, you know, if your stomach is growling, you know, people don't tend to be the most
you're hangry.
civil person.
When you're hangry, that's tough. And people have different appetites, you know, and people have different food schedules.
De var små. Jeg kunne ikke forstå at det kunne være nok for en voksen mann til å dekke et næringsbehov. Når det gjaldt matens innhold, så var det en pølse i brød, sånn det så ut som for meg. Muligheten til å få en suppe ved siden av, hvilket de fleste takket nei til. Vann å drikke, en appelsin, og noe som kanskje lignet på en type coleslaw som noen også sa ja til, men de fleste sa nei. Så for meg så var det et veldig magert måltid i mengde. Rent næringsmessig så var det vel kanskje heller ikke all verden. Og om de hadde mat igjen, så var det ikke mulig å få en servering til. Det var en servering, og så var det slutt.
Unfortunately, we all know that American diets are not very good.
If you don't have money, you know, to buy a commissary, or you don't have family that's supporting you, you know, sending you packaging like that, it can be tough, you know, once you eat your last meal at 5 o'clock. You know, from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock the next morning, you know, you don't have anything to eat. So, you know, that's tough. You know, when you're laying in that cell, dealing with whatever issues that you have, and then your stomach is growling on top of that. It's, you know, it's rough.
How do they eat oatmeal? That's a good source of protein, right? Oh my goodness, look at how they eat in Halden.
Som også i Halden
That's
fengsel
salmon.
Veldig
I hope they pay for it, though.
Det jo tross alt et høysikkerhetsfengsel, så mat ofte et viktig element. Det jeg vet ikke om jeg skal bruke ordet velferdsgode, men det en viktig del av dagen. Det også et samlingspunkt, så man utveksler også, eller hva man gjør seg noen sosiale erfaringer ved å dele et måltid mat, i tillegg til selvfølgelig smaksopplevelsen og så videre. Så mat viktig på mange plan, altså i et fengsel.
This is what I like. They're making their own food.
Det tar 2 sesonger liksom. 18 år.
I'm not against this.
Arbeidsoppgavene synes jeg veldig innholdsrike og meningsfylte. Det å få lov til å legge opp en soningsplan for en innsatt, og klare å motivere han, hvis vi klarer det, til å kunne endre
Bro, that salmon looks so good.
Da synes jeg vi har kommet veldig langt, og det det mest meningsfylte, synes jeg. Få lov til å følge en innsatt fra A til Å, og se at det skjer noe i løpet av den tiden som de her.
Good day. Going home safe, unharmed to my family. That's a good day.
The amazing thing about this place is, even though we've had
They
a
live
huge
on edge,
turnover the
don't
last
they?
couple of years with retirements and new staff coming in, we try to teach the younger officers the way I was taught 30 years ago. We try to keep that continuity, and we try to keep everybody on the same page. Everybody knows what they're doing. That makes it so much easier. Communication with staff in an emergency situation it's the best, and we're very good at it here.
I come to work, I do my job, I know that I'm doing my job correctly. I don't know if I directly affect any inmate in a positive way on a daily basis. I just do my job like I'm supposed to. And my goal is to go home every day. So every day that I go home, that's the reward that I get. I get to see my kids again.
It doesn't seem like they're happy with what they're doing either.
Lifelong friends. I mean that. This is a great place to work.
Okay.
I wouldn't change a thing.
It's a culture of intimidation, of oppression.
Oh my goodness, this is so
not
confusing.
Not necessarily just staff, but also, you know, officers. And it's slowly changing within the last few years. It's been changing with the administering of cameras throughout the facility, especially what's been publicized and notarized about what has occurred here, some of the violent situations. But the culture basically is an oppressive culture. You know, we're
the scum of the earth and deserve to be punished beyond what the judge and the magistrates decide what our punishment should be. So, I mean, pretty much I've been thankful and fortunate enough to avoid some of the extremes of that oppression, like physical abuse, assaults, you know, and some people have been murdered.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is a great documentary. It shows both sides. I do agree that there shouldn't be more punishment than what the judges have decided. That's what the judges are there for. And the correction officers are there to correct whatever is wrong, right?
I større grad skapt gjennom maktkonstellasjonen. At det noen som faktisk har makt over noen andre. Og gjennom det har man på en måte bygd en slags respekt. Så det to ulike innfallsvinkler til det ordet, opplever jeg.
It's getting better, but I'd say about 2-3 years ago, it was horrible. There was no cameras in here. There was no microphones. Staff pretty much do as they please.
Yeah.
Treat us like animals. That's how they say it.
Oh my goodness. Imagine not having cameras.
I mean, officers, they got new officers in here that are more interactive with us. They're not, how you say it, looking at us as animals.
There are a lot that are very violent at times, and it's not just physical, it's verbal, you know, calling you out of your name, meaning that, you know, using derogatory terminology, so degrade you, you know, but for, I don't know, it's ATTICA, you know, ATTICA.
See, most people use that as an excuse, like, oh, it's just how it is, but it's really not supposed to be.
Inne I fengselet, I korridorer, fellesskapsrom og så videre. Det jo en god ting, tenker vi I Norden også. Det øker sikkerhetsfølelsen for de ansatte. Men det som var spesielt her var jo at de innsatte, nesten alle vi snakket med, applauderte jo det å få kameraer inn I fengselet. For det hadde jo redusert mengden vold, mengden trakassering fra ansatte overfor innsatte. Så her var det på en måte snudd på hodet. Det var de innsatte som opplevde kameradekningen som et gode, og en økning av deres sikkerhet I forhold til de ansatte. Det var veldig spesielt å høre.
It's interesting to see both sides, both mentalities. A lot of guys are angry when they leave here
because of their treatment. Yeah. You know, and if it was better, then, you know, they would be better for society as a whole. You know, that you have a more civilized person leaving here because of the treatment that went on while they were in prison. You know, a lot of guys leave here angry. Yeah. You know, yeah, because of the treatment.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You have to make a decision, you know, what are you going to do? Like for me, you know, I sold drugs for 3 years. I had to make a decision, you know, like, are you going to waste your life or are you going to utilize your talent? And this is why I started drawing every day. At one point, I wasn't drawing at all. I think for the first 5 years of my incarceration, I didn't draw at all.
So you see, he's not really a violent person, but he's involved with a lot of different violent people as well. It feels like there's like one punishment for every crime.
I wish I fly like a bird. Fight like a bee.
Is that an original song?
Run like a horse. And grip like an eagle.
Nå vi I Criminal Records Studio I Halden fengsel.
Criminal Records Studio.
Hvor vi har et stort recordingstudio hvor vi sitter nå, The Main Room. Så har vi et litt mindre studio med 4 eller 5.
Do they pay to have access though?
Ja, nå vi I Mekka. For meg som var musiker fra før, så jo det gull verdt. Og det mange av oss. Så I dag det mye rappere, ikke sant? Og de greier seg med lite data. Og her får du jo utdanning I Digital Pro Tools som vi har her da I studio.
Så dette her jo jeg har ikke ord for det egentlig.
Wow, I thought he was American.
I dag hadde vi åpning på restauranthuset Ærlig Mat. Det en prosjekt som har vært en ønske veldig lenge, men I dag så ble dette her en realitet. Og det var en glede å åpne restauranten selv inne I fengselet.
You know, Gordon Ramsay did something like this. I was watching the program where Gordon Ramsay went to a prison and he created a bakery.
Instrumenter
It's nice.
Og opptaksutstyr ganske billig I dag, for at det var før. Vi kan komme langt med en computer der inne, en vanlig datamaskin.
It's expensive, bro.
Og noe små ting. Og hele det utstyret her som koster jo ikke mer enn en snekkermaskin der borte. Og det blir ikke stilt noen spørsmål da.
Okay. But if they break it, like, who pays for it? These are questions that I ask myself sometimes. But wow, this guy's talented. Look at that.
Sett med andre øyer utenifra så kan det virke dette her at vi har det for bra. Men til syvende og sist så må vi forstå at vi sitter jo inne. Vår frihet begrenset. Men behandler du et menneske dårlig, hva forventer du det mennesket skal bli der ute? At I Norge satser de på å rehabilitere mennesker I stedet for å tråkke dem enda lengre ned, synes jeg ikke det for snill. Jeg synes dette en bra tiltak. Dette gir muligheter. Dette skaper og også minsker kriminalitet, hvor folk faktisk får den følelsen at de kan mestre andre ting enn å drive med det de har drivet tidligere.
Jeg jobbet I 14 år I et annet fengsel som snekrer paller. Hva skal du med det når du kommer ut fra fengselet? Å være en racer på å produsere paller, eller kålkasser, eller noe sånn idiotjobb.
Bro!
Her, jeg synes at det må være viktig at de har noe de kan bruke.
I take offense to that because I know people who make bags and that's not an idiotic job. But I do have a question, like, do companies accept criminals? Do you have a criminal record? Like, companies in Norway, do they accept any criminal? Any company accepts that or what? Because it's hard to find a job in the United States if you have a criminal record. And I think that's the biggest difference. I think that's why many ex-criminals or prisoners can't find a job. But I don't think any job is idiotic. I think everything is useful. Even if you're creating pallets, you can...
We find a lot of things.
Pallets like for the guitar?
And the inmates are very ingenious in how they come up with some of the things that they make. We'll start out with this, a few general things. This is a tattoo machine. The inmate took a piece of a toothbrush, bent it into the handle, took an ink pen that we had in his cell, put a needle in it, and fashioned a motor out of his tape player.
Bro, you can see how creative these guys are.
Because jailhouse tattoos are illegal and also not very hygienic. Up in the top right corner, we have just a basic pen, but the inmate also managed to take a sewing needle and make a dart out of it and turn it into a blowgun. Yeah, that was a pretty good find. All stuff that they have in their cells. They can make anything out of just about anything today. They're very, very crafty.
See, that's the thing. Instead of him complimenting the skills and the intelligence of the inmate, he kind of complimented the find. Oh, it was a good find.
It's, to me, a little bit unusual, actually. We also have in Norway these kind of corridors, but we have probably a larger degree of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Now here we can look into each cell, even the restrooms of the inmates.
Yes.
How do you feel about that lack of privacy?
Actually, we're going to more cells that have open fronts.
Mhm.
We have 2 cell blocks here at ATTICA that have solid doors with just small windows for the officers to look into. And we're expanding the field of view so we can maintain the care, custody, and control of the individuals within. It's what we've become accustomed to in this department to ensure what's going on. We do allow the inmates to put a blanket up when they're using the bathroom halfway, but we want to be able to see them.
Okay.
But other than that, we do need to view the guys in their cells.
So the privacy issue hasn't been raised by the inmates to a special degree?
It's been the system forever.
Yeah.
And the privacy issue, male on male, is not raised, but if a female walks down the companies, they're obligated to announce themselves. And there was a gentleman here earlier before when one of our deputy superintendents was in the area who's a female, and he excused himself and asked her if she would step down.
There's a lot
so
of...
he could use the facilities. He did not ask me to. It's just the way the business is conducted, and the men are used to it. And it takes a while for new staff to get used to that. It's not human nature to not afford people that much privacy.
Okay, I have a question, maybe if some of you can answer. How does Norway tackle the issue? Because I know that they are giving privacy to the inmates, but I understand the American side also the need to check on the inmates to see if they're preparing some type of harmful device, not only to other people, but to themselves. Because there are people and there are so many cases, and I would love to know what are the numbers of the Norwegian, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that if they have a better life, they have less chances of, unaliving themselves, you know what I'm saying? And in America, some inmates already do that. They have like this depression, and they need to be visible so that the officers can stop that. How does Norway treat that? Because if you don't see them, if you don't have access to, if you don't see inside the cell, and if somebody wants to hurt themselves like inside the cell, how does the Norwegian correction officer tackle that issue? How does it work? I'm genuinely asking a question. I'm not trying to trick, kind of like a gotcha moment. I'm just really curious to know, because there are some implications also there. And these are the questions I think they should be asking each other, because you see that the officer, the American one, he avoided the answer. He didn't really talk about the privacy. He just kind of like talked about, he didn't give a full answer. I'm not satisfied with his answer, and I would like to know both sides. It would be nice if they had like a table where they sit across each other and kind of like ask a lot of different questions and debate. That would be an awesome video too. And they get locked up all day? They don't have free time? Is this one of those prisons that they get locked up like 24/7 and then they can only go out to eat, to get sunlight, and to get exercise?
This kind of cell block, being open with the bars and being open, no privacy regarding the restroom.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
will you just get used to it, or do you think about it?
Well, it's kind of inhumane.
Yeah.
It's inhumane. Like, you asked me to, like, I'm using the toilet, but you walk by and you're staring at me. Like, it's very degrading, and it does something to the soul of a person. And these are the things that
I don't even use public bathrooms,
like
bro.
that. that makes it hard to integrate back into society.
Especially the ones that have like an open floor.
For 10, 20 years, and it's not normal, and you don't have any normalcy here. You know what I'm saying? Then you ask this person to get out and do the right thing and be productive. The person is not going to be functional. This is the functional. It breeds the functional person.
It's the same thing as grounding a child. If you ground a child and not teach them valuable lessons, they will never learn. They'll just be grounded, angry, and rebellious.
En human fangebehandling. Han så viktigheten av respekt. Men jeg så kanskje ikke noen eksempler hvor på en måte hans perspektiver og prinsipper ble etterlevd.
Interesting.
Currently, I'm in prison right now for murder in the second degree. I was sentenced to 25 years of life for that. I got a little over close to 16 years in prison.
I was convicted of attempted murder in the first degree. I received 40 to life for that.
I was convicted for murder and a conspiracy to commit murder. For the murder, I received 25 years to life, running consecutive with the conspiracy, which is in total 33 years and a third to life.
Those are very different sentences wait. The first guy, I feel like he did more, right?
Thank you guys for your willingness to participate in this assignment. What we would like you to do is to think openly. In a way, draw up the ideal prison. It's still going to be a prison. It's still going to be a place where
they're going to draw up Halden.
So that's the frame. But what would it look like in a way? You can make some drawings, you can make some notes, but we'd like your thoughts. So
we could come up with any concept of prison that we can imagine.
Gotcha.
Bro, they're gonna draw Halden.
Where it's like a campus. Yeah. You know, it's a jail, yes, a facility, but a campus.
Put some greenery around here. Remember when
you don't really have to look at jail cells. You don't have to look at bars.
You got rooms.
Bro, they're drawing up Halden.
Like a dorm room.
What do we do after that?
But you see, they can work.
Hours.
Wow.
How long we work?
We get to the program.
Even though they're convicted of murder, they're working together.
We're gonna get more detail.
They're still humans.
What about as far as the time you got in? Do anybody agree with, like, somebody got 10 years in, they should be around people with 10 years in? No. I mean, if it's your prison, you can pretty much do it how you want to do it. And
I wasn't implying that.
No, I'm saying no. It's
So we're gonna just take you piece by piece. First, we're gonna start with the security, right? There's no walls in this facility, no bars, it's more of a campus setting. We thought about having like ID cards where you go to the building and you have to check in. And right on your ID card is like a computer chip and it logs you in at what time you're there. So you're being monitored everywhere you go. It's not like you could just leave the campus at all. We spoke about having more access to secondary education, such as college, associates, bachelor's, master's degree programs, and if you choose so, a doctorate program. Degrees that you can use upon reentry, not just liberal arts degrees or, philosophy degrees. We're talking about business degrees.
They have
teaching
time.
Degrees, computer engineering,
They
things
should
like
study
that. And that
during
also
this
takes
time.
me to the vocational center. Basically, is some of them are a little outdated. So if we had more up-to-date vocational programs like computer literacy, computer training, with actual up-to-date computers, it would equip the individual upon reentry to be able to reenter successfully. Also an anger management program. We spoke about, a parenting program that would actually help fathers, and if it was a female facility, mothers to become better parents.
This guy speaks better than I do.
Important things for individuals to rehabilitate themselves is contact with their family. Also, maybe possibly emailing through the phone. Again, this is something, especially with the technology today. If, for example, if your family member was unable to visit you, you could Skype with them possibly. Do that, right?
Wow, that man can speak better than I can.
You save 10 tomorrow.
He could be a public speaker.
And that's what we're trying to aim at and show that will work. Currently, it costs $30,000 on average, depending on if the individual has health concerns or whatever, to house one prisoner. We're asking for possibly a little bit more than that, for just a shorter time than having you to spend that for 20 years, 30 years.
This man
and
even did
spending
budgeting.
150, 200,000 to house one prisoner. We feel that also the crafts and trades and vocations and education that men will receive in here will be able to be carried over into their society and their community. They'll become not only upstanding citizens, but productive members, tax-paying members, individuals that we're putting back into the pot instead of taking it out. You know, we all have taken so much from our communities, you know, and we're working now to try to re-enter them to try to give back. And I think from having a program like this or a prison like this, you're giving an individual an opportunity to do that. You know, you're assisting him in assisting not only himself, but his community.
I think 80% of prisoners
Bro,
get released.
they just threw up Halden
to live next
and
door
made
to
a
you.
presentation
You want
about it.
somebody who has took education programs or vocational programs and has bettered themselves, or somebody who hasn't learned anything and get released and he's your neighbor.
Bro, that's that's impressive.
Now, I know you only had an hour, so you didn't have a chance to think out everything in this, in your idea. But as you dreamed up and troubleshot and group thought what it would be, did you think at all about what society as a whole, and in America, society doesn't think as a whole. We're fragmented in this country, you know. Half the country thinks one way, the other half the country thinks the other way at best. How would this go over, do you think?
War.
Half the country believes
That's
that
definitely
punishment,
going to be...
And the other half believes that punishment doesn't work.
That's definitely going to be a thing.
That rehabilitates somebody. So I definitely thought about that. Like, I mean, it just seemed unrealistic, a lot of it.
How you
For
guys
America,
thought about
yeah.
technology and allow technology, a sensing device to say if the bracelet leaves the perimeter. I've never thought of that. You know, I don't know if the technology exists, but with GPS the way it is, I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Wait, what? Is he talking about an ankle bracelet or?
Okay. Move the shower into the room or the cell, but we take away the phone, then you have Halden prison. That's how it is.
I love this.
Prison in Norway.
And do you take international transfers?
I knew he was going to ask that.
I was at Halden Prison in March of 2012. I said at the time that if I was to pick 5 or 6 guys from ATTICA's honor block and told them to draw up the prison of your dreams,
he did.
They would probably come up with some kind of a Halden model.
He said that.
Well, you nailed it, just so you know. Yeah, obviously. As he made 2 very slight changes and put a wall around it, and that's Halden Prison. And at the time in 2012, I was quite skeptical about
This
whether
is
or
12
not this
years
was gonna work
ago.
or not. So now I said I'd like to come back and see it in 5 years. It's been 4 years. Since I was there, they've had one incident which we would consider a serious assault on an inmate. Inmate in a woodworking shop hit another inmate with a thing of wood. So does it work? The results are what they are. When's the last time we had an assault on an inmate here? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So it's just, my point is that in that snapshot of a place, it does work. Whether we could replicate it here or not, I don't know.
Well, you need to try. Take the first step.
Thank you for your efforts. Appreciate it.
I think they're not...
Anything's possible. Extremely difficult.
Okay. They're not accepting it so much.
Are a huge part of it.
Yeah, okay. Oh, man.
Our political system is also extremely complex and difficult to navigate.
See, that's what I said in my previous video, too.
Haven't really cost us anything.
Oh, wow. Wait, they're trying that? In North Dakota?
We just changed our philosophy and
That doesn't cost
changed
anything.
what we expect of our staff and our approach. And I think what we can do without money is start changing our language about how we refer to people who
That's such
live
an
in
American
prisons,
thing.
who are on probation. I think we can change our policies about how we treat people, what we expect, and how we set goals for people who are living in prisons and on probation. I think that we can train our staff differently. Now, it doesn't mean we can offer them necessarily more training, but we can focus differently on the content of what we're training. We can set different expectations for our staff of how we want them to interact and how to measure a successful day. I think that we can change our programs and make them focused on creating better neighbors and not just a compliant prisoner. None of those things have cost us any money.
See, so it is changing.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a while now.
Yeah. Welcome to North Dakota.
I haven't seen
Good to have you.
when they
I was
visited,
looking so
though.
much forward to this.
Yes. When we arrived in Norway, we went with the expectation
have I
that
seen
we'd
them?
see nice-looking prisons. But for years, we had been implementing a redesign of evidence-based practices, so we thought we were doing pretty good at making good prisons. I realized after seeing the prisons and meeting with the Norwegian Correctional Services directors, we were making good prisoners. What we weren't doing was making good neighbors. And when we went to Norway, what was very clear to me is no matter what programs or curriculum we use in treatment or what we have in terms of staff, if we don't create the right environment, the intervention won't work. And that was probably the biggest piece we took, was creating the right environment to help people become better neighbors, and also the concept of humanity and treating people like humans and people, not just offenders, convicts, felons, or inmates.
That's so cool. I want to know if there are any data after, like, what are the results after they did that?
It's helped me realize, like, especially with some of the counselors, working with them.
He made a guitar out of Tide
to, like, and trying
and
to find
floss.
out, because a lot of times I didn't even know where my issues was. You know, I was just kind of going through life, you know, but working with, like,
that's sad,
there was
though.
a lady here named Holly or Jody, and, you know, just opening, you know, talking with them and having, like, a trust with them to, like, and give them, you know, give it a chance.
I understand there's been some changes regarding the operation of this unit last couple of months or last 6 months.
The differences.
Oh, 6 months is not enough to see.
A lot more leniency.
But it's a
with
start. I
certain
love that.
behaviors, such as fighting, the contraband. They don't get put into segregation as long as they used to. The punishment is not as strict as the other facilities that I've come from. And I see a lot more of manipulation out of some of the guys because they know they can get away with things.
Well, there's quite a bit of resistance from the staff. Obviously, when we first started this, there was a lot more resistance than there is now. I think as time goes on, we're going to continue we'll roll with that resistance and start to, you know, get people to see, you know, the benefits of it, especially once we start getting some of our own numbers, some of our own data that we can say that, you know what, this isn't.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie.
This is making it, you know, a better place.
My personal opinion is sometimes the punishment don't fit what they do, so they continue to do it because they know they're gonna, well, I'll go down to AS for 2 days, then I'll be back. And so they continue to do it. Whereas where I came from, a tattoo gun, you're gonna get 3 months or more in segregation, pretty much.
Yeah.
And here it's a day or two.
Okay.
So I feel that it's not teaching them a lesson.
Okay. But your experience is that longer segregation teach them a lesson, or do they come back?
I love the question.
A lot of them, once they've experienced it there for that long period of time, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them did not want to go back to it. Not saying that it straightened their behavior out permanently, but they would go a long time before they did something again.
Yeah, that's the thing about punishment. It gives you a temporary fix, but it doesn't change the person. It doesn't give you a permanent solution. And sometimes permanent solutions are harder.
About the progression model, where you'll hear the heads of the Norwegian Correctional Services say, we never want to release someone for a maximum security prison to the streets. Well, we were releasing them straight from segregation, which I think speaks volumes to our role in public safety. The message to the community then is saying, we can't manage this person in a maximum security prison, but community, good luck.
Oh, wow.
And so we came home and immediately said, the practice of releasing people from segregation stops. And they were there for reasons like chronic failure to follow rules.
That's the
tattooing,
right thought.
Having contraband, failure to comply with their housing referrals. So it was really nebulous what could get you there. But what was even more hard to figure out was what you had to do to get out. And typically the criteria to get out was, we feel you've been back here long enough. So when I started to investigate segregation and I'd ask them about a guy who was there for assault, I'd say, so how do you know he's ready? Well, he hasn't gotten in a fight since he's been back here. Well, he also hasn't been around another human being since he's been back here, so I'd hope not. And so everything about getting out had to do about the absence of bad behavior, but nothing new having happened. And so we really narrowed down to about 5 or 6 categories of behaviors that could get you back there, and all of the most serious. We then started to assess people that came in to decide, do they just need a timeout and we can handle them in population, or do we want to keep them? Basically, we weighed the risk to the institution against the harm we're going to do to that person.
It's the same thing
Based
as
on
like...
that assessment, we put them into a unit where they actually get high intensive intervention. So our thought about the unit now is behave your way in, behave your way out, and then support them on the way out.
It's the same thing as the person who does reckless driving. Just because he hasn't gotten an accident doesn't mean he changed his
The sergeant
driving
saying, I'm building better
manners.
relationships with the people here. Another officer said, I feel like I'm actually doing something, not just being a flight attendant walking down tiers, giving drinks and toilet paper.
Bro, I want to see the data.
It does suck, you know.
I think
after
it will
being here
work.
4 times, you know, it's start wondering, you know, is this what's my life's going to be for, you know, long, you know what I mean, here on out or what? Or, you know, I'm 28 right now, you know, it's still time to, you know, change it up. I love tattooing. I eventually want to get out in the streets, start, you know, a little tattoo shop, you know. But, it's, you know, a lot of, you got to think about that kind of stuff in here and what I can do to improve myself for when I get out there so I can make it as a tattoo artist, you know.
Stepping back,
they could teach how to open a business and all that.
You know, was
That's
stepping back and taking a look at
good tip
you know, the big
also.
picture. These guys are going to get out someday, and the question was, well, where do they go? I don't know. They live next to you. They live next to me. You know, hopefully we've equipped them so that way they can become productive members of society.
Or they live in a neighborhood where, you know, everybody is an ex-prisoner. There is a neighborhood in the United States where I think everyone is an offender.
Jeg har truffet mange positive, endringsvillige mennesker. Også i ATTICA på ledelsesnivå. Men jeg har også truffet på en måte gode mennesker som jobber i feil system. Altså, en god kriminalomsorg gir jo kjempegevinster for samfunnet på lang sikt. Og det undres meg over at amerikanerne da ikke på en måte tar det perspektivet innover seg, men er så, i hvert fall som system, såpass straffeorientert da. Det undres jeg over.
But is this guy the one who invented it? Is it only in his prison?
We are...
we need to change in this country. Find a way to break the cycle.
That's the name of the show.
Many of the individuals that are incarcerated will tell you how parents or people that should have a positive effect on their life have a negative effect on their lives, and they end up incarcerated. We got to work on that a little bit. And then we blame a lot on we're sending men out not prepared. But I personally think we give them the tools. We give them the tools in their toolbox. We are by no means the best we can be. You can always improve. But when you send human beings back to the same environment they left, and you put them out there with no job, no real place to live, some of them, they're destined for failure. You know, it's like throwing a fish in a pond that's going to go dry.
Most people think if you create an environment that's pleasant and not punitive,
it's the whole country that needs to work together.
That if you would just make a tougher prison, people won't come back. We know that's not true. It's all over the place. The hardest prisons have the highest recidivism rates. What I think we encounter, and maybe it comes down to this, in a class just recently with new officers, I showed a video of Halden prison. And one of the staff members in the class very earnestly said to me, I get this. I get it. It makes sense. And I think that's a pretty common response I get. On a human common sense level, people go, yeah, okay. But if you were the victim of a really heinous crime, how would you feel about the perpetrator of that crime living in such a luxurious setting? And my response was, well, I'd be pissed off. But what is that when I say I'm pissed off? And the group kind of takes a minute and they go, it's a feeling. It's an emotion. I said, that's right. And we're not the Department of Emotional Responses. We're the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Okay, but the prison doesn't need to be luxurious. The prison just needs to have the basic human rights. That's what I think. Wow, that is so cool. That is a great documentary, and it really explains the mentality. And you know, this didn't focus on the luxury part of the facilities. This focused on the side of the inmates, the side of the correctional officers, the American side, the Norway side, you know, and I really like that. And I hope this explains a little bit of the Norwegian mentality. I think, you know, this could work if there are a few tweaks, because as I said in my previous video, not everybody in a country will accept the Norwegian system the way it is, because it could really affect the victims emotionally, because they think, if they don't understand the idea behind it, they will think they will go against it. You know what I'm saying? They will think they will think that the criminal doesn't deserve to be treated in this fashion. But I think in the long run, I've been watching these videos and I understand what this is now. At first, my first time reacting to it, it was shock value. I was really shocked. I really didn't understand it. But with a video like this that is more explanatory, it reminded me of the time where I was doing this, exactly this, helping people. If you guys don't know, let me give you a bit of context. I used to be a TV producer in Brazil, and at least 2 or 3 times I've been to prisons to help the inmates. And one of those times I went with a camera crew, and I did exactly this, showing the side of the prisoners and how they're being treated. And this was from a TV show. You can probably go and watch it, called Ressoar, Ressoar. And it was a very long time ago. I can't remember if I have any footage of it. I know it's in the TV archives, but it was a very good thing. You know, I was in the prison talking to the inmates, and this is a charity and social work that I also partook in. So if the idea is to help people become better, I'm all for it. If the idea is to give them comfort, I'm not for it. I'm against luxury for criminals. But this documentary here, it showed a lot what the mentality is, and it showed that it could work. It could work in the United States, and it already works in Norway. So I love this so much. The idea that you can fix something that is broken. You know, it's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing this with me. And I think people, they have the reaction, which is a shock value reaction, because they don't, the videos that are shown to them are just focused on, you know, the flat screen TV. And I don't think that's the whole point. So thank you for sharing this with me in depth. This video was actually a coffee request by Henoik, and it was 15 coffees. So thank you so much for the 15 coffees. It's the only way I can make videos this long, when you guys support me. So if you want to request a video, especially if it's a longer video, then buy me a coffee. Link is in the description. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye. Take care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. See ya.
Now you can get full access to exclusive content, special reactions to shows, series, anime, full movies, and even request a video of your choice. Just become a YouTube member or join Buy Me a Coffee today. Find out more, the link is in the description.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right.